Hello there, and welcome to the Kirk Minahan wrap-up show for February 10th, 2021. Today's show was movie night, where Kirk talked a lot of movies. People were asking him different questions. Land of the Lost came up. Who's a better actor came up. A whole bunch of just movie talk. That's pretty much what all the calls were today. It was a Wednesday show, so it was just Kirk and Steve. But there were some, interesting tidbits to this show that I'd love to cover. And I am joined by always on Wednesdays by my good friend, Tim in Canton. Tim, how are you doing?
Hi, Justin. Good to see you, buddy. Nice T-shirt.
Oh, thank you very much.
Show that off for your fans.
That's right. Fribble me this.
Yeah.
I'm barstoolsports.com. So let's just start with the title of today's show and kind of like, so I don't want to like get into movies. I don't want to talk about was Land of the Lost underrated? Did they undersell it on the show? I don't want to talk about that stuff. But
do you want to do the whole show in a Star Wars voice? Who did you do that time you cleaned the toilet?
I was Luke Skywalker.
Luke Skywalker.
I was Luke Skywalker getting trained on Dagobah, but I was also Yoda and all this other shit going on.
At one point, didn't you talk to Jar Jar Binks?
I don't believe I did.
You didn't. No, you talked to R2-D2. I know that.
Yeah, I do a very good Jar Jar Binks though, but we'll save that. We'll save that for next time I clean the toilet. So, it was interesting. The movie when I saw the title, I originally thought, oh shit, they're doing another movie night soon. Like this is Bicentennial Man Part 2. Steve brought up some sort of weird movie that he likes and he thinks is better than it should be, and they're going to do another watch along, which I think. Tim, did you partake in the Bicentennial Man watch along?
Unfortunately, I did. I did.
It was a lot of fun
because it was over. It was over. I remember it was really nice out, and so I remember being outside and just had it on. Wasn't watching, thank God, but was listening the whole time, and that was hilarious.
Yeah, I had it on, and that was following on. I thought that night was a lot of fun. I think they got up to like 400 or 500 viewers on the YouTube. It was a lot of people taking part in it. So I thought maybe another watch along was coming, but nope. Kirk was just in the mood to talk movies. So
we all know he loves movies. Mm-hmm. And when he mentioned the Dedham movie theater about that parking lot, he is not lying. That parking lot was massive. I mean, massive. It went from Route 1 almost all the way back to the railroad tracks behind that behind Dedham there. Mm-hmm. It's now called Dedham Corporate. I'd say easily 400 football fields long.
Jesus Christ.
I know, right? And the funny thing,
fucking movie theater was this?
And I know what he's talking about. It was never full. Ever. I used to go to the movies every Sunday night with my friends. I worked from 6 to 10, and then and one of my buddies worked at the Dedham movie theater, and he always let us in, and we'd always go to the late show, and it was funny because at the end of the movie, at the beginning of the movie, they always showed that parking lot, and they'd show you how they wanted you to exit. There's nobody there. You could drive 100 miles an hour across the parking lot and not hit anything. It was massive. And the only other thing I'd add is, I'm not sure Kirk knew this, but National Amusements, the company that distributes movies, which is who owned the Dedham movie theater at the time, their headquarters was in that parking lot. There was a brownish gray building that was in that parking lot. So it was the movie theater and the corporate office and like 10,000 parking spots. But I digress.
That's interesting. You ever just park all the way at the end just to get?
We've done that. Yeah. Fucking with my friends, we've done that. Yep. Or drive up to the exit and make them run up to catch up to him. It was huge.
Yeah, I really like it when Kirk dives into stories of his past, when he somehow, he'll bring up like how he, used to go to Papa Gino's or Friendly's. Because that always leads to something.
Yes.
Yeah, I always like it. I like it when he calls his brother and he's like, "What's that thing Dad made us do when we would get in trouble?" And they were like,
and you mentioned Papagino's. The other thing I'd mention is yesterday was everybody's favorite EEI host, Mutt. It was his birthday yesterday, and was listening to Mutt last night, which I do quite a bit. I like his show, and he mentioned he's never had Papagino's.
Oh, really?
He doesn't. He's never had bar pizza. And he's never had Papagenos, which
You think-
shocked me. Being
I think
Kirk's
someone
friend.
who's that close with Kirk, they would have at
Right.
least grabbed a single slice of Papagenos at one point.
But I'm sure Kirk would say, "Why would anybody think I'm going to lunch with the guy?"
But yeah, no, yeah. So there's that. But yeah, no, I think another movie. Now I'm not entirely sure what movie they would do. I think it has to kind of come up like Bicentennial Man came up. It needs to be like some weird movie that Steve enjoys and considers it to be Oscar worthy.
Oh, like
And-
his favorite comedy, Sophie's Choice, something like that. So, what I think is amazing about Kirk is it's not just, there are people who love movies. I love movies. I'm entertained by them. I couldn't tell you a dick about them.
Mhm.
I might know who the star is. I have my own favorites, but I don't know a lot of the inside baseball, as they say, which I do really like. But he knows not just the director, the producer, and then he
The
knows
writers, yeah.
the right. Yeah, but it makes sense. And Quantum Week Chris is like that as well, because they will look at a movie and say, well, so and so directed this, and he also directed this, this, and this, and I'm like, oh, that's why I like those other movies, same director. So it makes sense. And I think that's amazing, though, to have that much knowledge about a movie and the backstory on it is incredible. And to recall where exactly he was when and who he was with when he saw a certain movie is just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, like I like movies. The last movie I saw in theaters was Sonic the Hedgehog, which will probably be the last movie I see in theaters. So the day I die, with the way this fucking pandemic's going. But I never look at like the producers and things like that. I just kind of like, oh, I like this. And if there's I do like a couple certain directors. I don't know, like George Lucas. I'm a big fan of most of his work. I don't know if you've seen any of it, but yeah, like I follow around a couple things, but I'm not entirely like Kirk knows like the co-stars and everything about it. So he really is a movie genius when it comes to that shit.
And today seemed like just a day where he just wanted to relax, have a little fun. Oh, well, it was last night, right? Where we wanted to relax, have some fun with the fans, talk about a subject that he loves, which is movies, and invite the fans in to talk about movies with him. And the other thing I'd say about Kirk that is always surprises me, where he's such an aficionado, he doesn't really rip people's taste on movies. Steve aside, that's just odd.
Mm-hmm.
But people can get so passionate about movies, music, and food, and he'll just say, "Nah, it's not for me." It's most people who are that deep into some sort of art are not forgiving when other people don't
very
agree.
gatekeeping.
Yeah, not only are they passionate, but you're right. They also are very opinionated, and he's not. He accepts whatever people like. He's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, we all know some shit is shit and some stuff is great, but you don't have to all love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like it when he says things. He said this multiple times. He's like, you can't argue what music is better than each other. Because
it's just,
like he said,
to me, it's just like food.
He knows the Who is good. Like he knows
he doesn't like them,
but he doesn't like them. So he knows that some people don't like Bruce Springsteen. It's not for them.
And I'm one of those people.
It's stupid to argue that to someone because either you like it or you don't. It's like if you give it a chance and you can't do it. But yeah, so I mean, I love it when they talk about movies. I thought it was great. I thought the calls were decent. The ones where they ask like, "Oh, guess who this is?" It always leads to them talking about Will Ferrell was brought up and Landon Lost. I totally forgot it.
That was a great trivia question. That was a great trivia question. Yeah, right. Because isn't that what the caller said? What movie were all these people in? Mm-hmm. It is such a wide swath of stardom. You're like, what blockbuster were those people in?
I saw that in theaters too.
You did?
I was in 6th grade. Yeah, I mean, it was quite interesting. So, speaking of knowledge of movies and trivia per se, so Steve Robinson's out. He quit.
And look who stepped in his shoes. You know what? You're quickly becoming the mutt of the KMS show.
Yeah, I mean that's
KMS.
I'm not entirely sure. Like I never listened to Mutt or on KMS, so I'm not entirely sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'll always help out. So I was waiting for them to. I was assuming that Jeff Lowe would announce on Twitter who the next opponent would be. Mm-hmm. So I had it all ready, ready to go research. I've been researching all day today. I mean,
you've been scouting too?
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Like researching Casey, Feidelberg, and Cons, who is 100% a cheater. I know I got into a little back and forth with him on Twitter today, but if you watch the one that called Trivia cheating scandal addressed with undefeated underdogs. Episode 69. It's blatantly obvious that this man cheats. It is blatantly obvious. All the comments are calling him out for cheating. He pulled Todd Gurley out of his ass. I will be on him.
But hold on. Just because a guy gets an answer doesn't mean he's a cheater. What makes it blatantly obvious?
I mean, you like his screen, like his screen changed. You could hear clicking. I mean, the man.
Okay, so there's circumstantial. All right, I get you. Like I'm with you. When I watch the show, I watch to see whose eyes are dotting left, right, looking at something. You know, Casey, who by the way I thought was a great guest today. Really enjoy hearing her on. She's very upbeat.
I like how she gives it back to Kirk too.
Totally, and she totally gets it. She knows how to play along. I think it seems like Kirk really has a nice back and forth with her, kind of like with Jared. Seem like old friends, which I think they are. They've known each other for quite a while. And I think it's great that she came on and you know had some stuff to say about other people that play the game, like Brandon, that he gets, which this annoyed me. She mentioned that he gets salty. And I'm going to have to go back and re-listen for the fourth time how many times Steve used the word salty after she had used it.
Oh, I'm going to re-listen.
Because it was at least 3 times.
Try to figure that out.
She kept saying salty, and next thing you know, by the end of the show, Steve mentioned someone was being salty.
Yeah, she's one of those Barstool employees that I wish lived in Boston, because she would be a weekly guest or a bi-weekly guest or something like that. I mean, her chemistry with Kirk is great. I think the Minifans would love kind of the female interaction, you know, get a different perspective on things. And, you know, she's kind of like, I'd say she's in with Barstool more than even Jared is. I mean, she's in New York.
Seems like it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, she's in New York. That's number one.
So, I thought her phone call was great. You know, it was quick 10, 15 minutes. They just kind of shot the shit. It was news. She broke the news that Kirk will be facing off with Casey,
she did.
Heidelberg, and Cons. On the, I believe, I'm not entirely.
The faux Springsteen fan, right?
Yes, I put out a
destroyed that morning
trivia question, and he's yet to answer it. So,
what was the question? When was the last time Bruce was?
It was what is the state, Bruce? It was what was the state? What is the state that Bruce Springsteen sings about a lot? A, North Dakota. B, New Jersey. C, the state of Israel. Or D, liquid. So I don't think he knows it. So it's I don't know, something stupid that I did, but yeah, no. So I'm in. They called me up first to just tell me, you know, get going on the scouting report.
What do you feel, Justin? What do you feel your strengths are?
I feel like my strengths are definitely going to be, okay, this is when we should use this. This is how we need to go about, because I should have said.
So it's more strategy.
Yes. So when they said, I should have brought this up yesterday on the first phone call when they called me. That you shouldn't when you're in the dozen round and you're shouting out answers like who was the Super Bowl halftime show, you should save the harder ones that the other team should not know for last. So when Steve keeps going Lady Gaga, Lady Gaga, Lady Gaga, and I know Kirk knows the Who, I know Kirk knows Bruce Springsteen, but you should get Lady Gaga out there, because the other team is more likely to get Lady Gaga than the Who or Paul McCartney or something like that.
I see what you're saying there from strategy, because Brandon Walker did that yesterday because he knows college football. Tuesday, and I watched that show and he said the name of a school, and I thought, ooh, if he and his partner, I think it's PFT, if they were really in sync, and his partner knew, all right, I'll let him say that and kind of buy into it, trying to convince the other team that they're faking. That's a good strategic move. But what are your strengths from a trivia perspective? We know Jared is baseball, and that's baseball and some music. He's a Bernie Cabo, so he'll have one answer that no one will know. He will have that. What is your strength? Is it a category? Is it being able to answer a certain question that no one else can?
I think I'll do better than Steve and Jared in like the pop culture stuff from the 2000s to the 2010s.
I agree. You can't be, I believe, only because you can't be worse. And I have no idea. Well, you know, but you cannot be worse.
I think categories. I think I'd be decent in sports, kind of like the current sports. I'm very good at NFL trivia. I know a lot about the NFL.
What are the major league sports teams that have the same team name in the same state?
The Kings?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's the Kings.
That's it?
Is the same team name in the same state?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the Kings.
No. The two different sports have the same team name. Is that it, or is it the
Yes,
four?
the Sacramento Kings and the LA Kings.
And the LA Kings, and that's it. It's the only one. All right. So there's one
pretty
that
sure.
Steve would never get, right?
Yeah, I mean, but Kirk would get that. He knows basic sports. But
What's the only island continent?
What's the what?
Only island continent.
Oh, Australia.
Very good. Who were the 4 presidents to be assassinated?
JFK, Abraham Lincoln.
All right, so you're on a roll, because Steve would have got those wrong too, because he also said Reagan invaded Dominican Republic, maybe for vacation, but not to overthrow it.
That was what it is. So yeah, and I also think video games would be a big category. I've seen some games with Smitty where they do some video game categories, so I think that could be a category that I would rock and roll in. As I said yesterday, just keep it rocking, keep it rolling.
Well, Jeff apparently he does try to give people questions that they can be strong with, right? So does he reach out to you and say, what categories are you strong with? Or
I'm going to reach out to him later tonight, because I think he wasn't expecting this change.
The change. Yeah.
So I'm sure he might even have the trivia set, questions for. I think they might be filming it either Monday or Wednesday next week.
Yeah.
So I'll figure all that out.
So a lot of pressure, because Kirk is now depending on you.
Yeah. No, there's a ton of pressure. I'm
not just better than Steve, but to contribute. Right?
Yes. So I'm hoping we pull out a W. This is a very good team. They Captain Collins does cheat, but they are undefeated against PFT. They constantly are a high scoring team. They're always between like 10 and like 14 points, which is
that's a lot. That's a lot in that game. So you're going to recommend when to mute, when to double up?
Mute, yes.
Who and when? Okay.
Yes. Well, I mean, obviously Kirk has the final say on everything. I think, I'm not going to say, oh, I know this, we should double up. I mean, no, I think we should double up on questions Kirk knows. I'm looking.
Any nerves or stage fright about being on such an illustrious team with two stars, the Rocket and Kirk?
Well, I mean, my only worry is that I make myself seem like a moron, not a bigger moron, because Kirk already thinks of me as like maximum moron, but to a bigger audience. Now there's people who are watching this and go, "Oh, there's the moron kid." So
there's worse things. So you could be known as the big moron going forward on Foster.
Yeah, no, I mean it is it is what it is. So I'm excited. I really think that Kirk takes it seriously. Well, like you said last week,
he wants to win. He wants to win. Yes.
I was actually disappointed that Steve quit. I would have liked to see Kirk kind of try to carry Steve and Jared to the finals, but Steve sounded like he didn't want it. I mean, Kirk did not kick him off his team.
No, he did not. But
let's be clear there.
Yeah, I think Steve realized he's not going to be able to contribute like Kirk needs him to.
Yep.
And why not let someone like you jump in who can't do any worse? So I totally give Steve credit for that. Knowing when you can't do it is half the battle. There's no glory in losing and still being proud, right?
Yes,
because they want to win. They're not there to just have fun. They're there to win. So, and he keeps it in Boston, right? Kirk wants a Boston team. So,
he wants a Kirk Minahan show team.
Yes, sorry, he wants a Kirk Minahan show team. Yep.
So
just happens they're all in Boston.
So yeah, so that's exciting. That was big news yesterday. I've been studying up on Casey Feidelberg and cons and all of that. So that's kind of my new project to make sure we have a decent chance. At the end of the show, speaking of Barstool events, there was Kirk wants to fight the undisputed heavyweight champion from the 1990s, early 2000s, Mike Tyson. So that would be quite. I think that would draw even more people than Jose Canseco.
For sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think Mike Tyson would draw a pretty big payday. I like the fact that Kirk said he'd be willing to negotiate with Dave, and maybe a little bit goes to the Barstool Fund and something like that. So
he's basically saying I will let Mike Tyson kill me to contribute to the Barstool Fund.
Now, this is very similar. I don't know if you know the backstory of the Jose Canseco fight. This is very, very similar to how Billy Football ended up fighting Jose Canseco.
It is. I didn't know that. Okay, so it kind of came about
Big
that
Cat,
way.
so there was something with A-Rod. Jose Canseco hates A-Rod. So Big Cat was like, I'll fight you. That's like, he was calling him like his boss or something like that. He was like, that's my boss. I'll fight you. Jose Canseco said, sure, I'll do it. And then Big Cat was like, oh, fuck. So then Billy, the intern, said, I'll fight in your place and let's make this happen. Let's make this real. So very, very similar circumstances. I'd be interested. I would love it if Mike Tyson was at a Rough N Rowdy. I think it would just make that pay-per-view event explode. And there's no way you didn't see Rough N Rowdy, did you?
No, I didn't. I have no interest in seeing fucking Jose Canseco in the ring.
He lasted a clean 10 seconds.
Yeah, it sounds like it missed
before
nothing.
The fight was called.
Yeah, what did he say? He had something wrong with his shoulder or some bullshit.
Yeah, he said he tore his shoulder or some bullshit.
Took a dive for over $1 million.
Yeah, so Mike Tyson wouldn't do that. He just wouldn't. I mean, that's just not who he is. I mean, he'll probably kill whoever he's in the ring with.
I picture like they have in the movies when guys has flashbacks. I picture Mike Tyson getting in the ring with Kirk, having a flashback to his younger days when he was 19, when he was at his most dangerous, and just seeing Kirk as somebody else from his past, and just in the movies where it changes and not the same person, and just turn it into that monster that he is. Which, by the way, he is a monster. The guy went to jail for rape. Okay, so I don't give a fuck what anybody says about
he's a terrible human being.
Don't call him an animal. He's a fucking animal. He raped a woman. He went to jail. He's a monster.
And Kirk wants to, give him some old street justice.
Kick his ass. It's about time someone kicked his ass. He's been deserving it for 20 years now.
So, but I did like how Kirk said, it'd probably be an even fight if we fought today. But give him 6 months. Kirk puts on 80. I think what he said, 80, 90 pounds of muscle he wants to put on.
He's going to put on all muscle.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone can do it, Kirk can do it. I think it would be very interesting. But I wanted to ask you, Tim, is there anyone in this world that you actually would like to see fight in a Rough N Rowdy? I know we had.
Man, that's a great question. Well, do you? Because what sucks is you don't necessarily know. You talking parody accounts for the KMS show, or
just like people in the Kirk Minahan? Like you could say Steve from Providence. You could say
yeah. So
Steve,
forget size and weight or any of that crap.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Steve fight Ziggy.
Oh, okay. You want it to be, no, that would be.
I think that would be a good, because I think it would be a good build-up. There'd be a lot of passion there. I've only seen Ziggy with his mask on, but it looks like he, might have a little height to him. But I'm short, so everybody looks like that. So I think that would be a good card. Oh, that's a great question. I'm just thinking, would it be people who are constantly bitching at each other, or? Let's see.
It would just be. I mean, we could pick anyone. I mean,
from the Miniverse, because when it comes to Barstool, there's so many different characters, right? That all work there. But for KMS, it's really just you guys. It's you, Harrison, Steve, Kirk,
Mike, and Jared.
I'd throw Adam and Ryan in there by default.
I'd like to see Adam. That would be interesting. I think though, if there was a character or kind of like a Kirk, because the last time they promoted it, it was those two guys. It was like North Shore versus South Shore, and they tried to kind of.
Oh yeah. Kirk could not get away from that
fight.
But
if we got some actual Minifans, I think there could be some juice thrown behind that. And
haven't some Minifans said they would be down for a Rough N Rowdy?
I think there's certain people just want to beat the shit out of each other. So
I know one guy who would love to fight anybody. Not necessarily to fight. I just think he'd love to be in the ring.
Who's that?
Jason from Attleboro.
Oh, I'd love to see Jason from Attleboro. I haven't even thought of that. Holy shit! Yes,
that he would make that event. He would be nonstop about promoting that event.
Oh, he'd be great. He actually went to the Rough N Rowdy in Providence.
He did. Yeah.
Yes, I've seen pictures of him there. Yeah, huge Jason from Attleboro guy. I think he would be perfect for that.
So who would you want to see? Like I can't think of anybody that I want to see Kirk fighting.
Oh, besides Mike Tyson, which is going to happen.
Granted. Jared, I mean,
I'd like to see Jared versus Hubs. I don't know if you know who those.
Isn't Rough and Rowdy usually like a not a revenge, but isn't a grudge match like somebody who has a beef with somebody?
Most of the time when it
Most of
comes
the
to like the barstool, like so I know $20 Chef fought an internet troll who's someone
Okay.
who would
See,
who was
yeah,
constantly
there
do
you
that.
go. Yep.
Gay Pat fought a homophobe guy. He's
Okay.
And he won. Then there was Smitty versus Nate, which was Smitty and Nate don't like each other. And that was
Okay.
what caused the whole, I don't know if you know the story, but that started the whole Rappaport thing with
Oh, it
because
did? Nah.
he
I know
accused
Rappaport
Smitty of
fight.
juicing, and there was some
Uh,
bet and something. It was pretty intense. But
oh, I
yeah,
know.
there's
I'd like to see Kirk fight. I'd
who?
like to see Kirk have a 3-card fight in one night. Merch, then Sam Kennedy. Although Sam Kennedy seems pretty tall. Kirk's what, 5'11", 6 feet, and then another fight with Merch just to fight him again.
I think the third match should actually be against Gabe. I think that would be a much better fight.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know height. You know,
none of that matters. None of that matters in Rough
yeah.
and Rowdy. So,
but I think it would be very, very funny to have a minifig for Ronnie, especially since so many of us are wildly out of shape. It'd be less a fight and more an endurance match of who could,
it would be great.
Last.
It'd be great. They just be.
Wait, is there anybody? I know you're an employee now, but is there anybody that you would like to take on that kind of ruffles your feathers?
Oh my goodness. See, I thought about this for a minute last over the weekend. And I honestly would fight anyone just because it would give me an excuse to like get in serious shape. And so that might be.
But I know you like your list. You must have a list of people that you would have no problem getting in a ring with.
I'm not a fighter, but I mean, I would fight. Oh, DEC, Matt J. I'd fight Matt J in a second.
Okay. And he's about your height. That wouldn't be too far off. All right.
Yeah.
So you have been thinking about it. Yeah. I don't have anybody in particular. I really don't. But if someone wanted to get in the ring with me, I'd be down for that.
Yeah. So I guess if I needed to fight someone, it would probably be against that pussy. So
I will. If Kirk fights Tyson, I'll fight Customato's dead body. Well, and I'd probably still lose.
Be careful what you say, because wilder things have happened. So that's kind of what I just wanted to touch on with the Rough and Rowdy stuff, the Mike Tyson stuff. Now, Tim, you know what we always do on Wednesdays.
Yes.
It is time for this week
to show you John.
Show
shit!
History.
I thought it was what we did after the show. Yes, Minahan history. So Jared on Friday, right?
Yep.
Cool. Looking forward to that. So this week, the week at 2/11. 2020 was an amazing week. Started with Mike's Reckoning.
Oof.
And I recommend that to everybody. There wasn't a lot from that show to point out other than, frankly, how reasonable Kirk was.
Yes.
Talking about the emotions that he was dealing with that night. And even Steve, the voice of reason, and Kirk said this, that Steve didn't necessarily talk him down, but just said, I'm not sure that we want to go that route yet. Let's talk more about it. But Kirk was bullshit. You don't fuck with the show.
Yes, and I think that was a huge dilemma Kirk was having internally, because you can kind of hear it in that show.
Yeah,
he's making the case to keep Blind Mike.
Yes,
I think he's having,
when he knows he should have fired him, probably.
Yes, I think he was having that conversation verbally instead of in his head, because Mike would say something, he'd be like, "Shut up. This is what you should be saying right now," and it's like, so that was a very, very interesting show. I know.
It was a whole show on that, not a whole dressing down either. It was a discussion, and basically, and Mike, he sat through it and gave himself to account. I'll give him credit. Mike did not speak on that show until I re-listened to it the other day.
Oh, it was like 3 or 4 minutes in.
6 minutes.
I thought he wasn't in that day. I remember that. Yeah.
Right. It was silent. It was him and Steve talking about stuff coming up for the Wilbur show. Just Kirk right into the show, blah, blah, blah. And then when you hear Mike, I'm like, whoa, that was 6 minutes of him sitting there stewing, absolutely stewing, not knowing what's going to happen. And I think people know now, but didn't realize at the time when Kirk was so furious. he was told in advance, do not drink.
Yes, not a good move.
That was the thing. So Kirk is right. He probably should have been fired, but he likes the guy, and I'm glad he didn't get fired. And I think Mike contributed a lot more after that.
Mhm.
What is amazing to me is the shows went on through that week. Yes, Kirk made comments here and there, but what happens in typical Kirk fashion, he turns it into something that is good for the show. And he said, if I don't have, X number of songs by the end of this week about Mike, then I'm not doing the show anymore. And sure enough, the rest of the week was filled with phenomenal songs. Steve Zelaya guy had a song. Matt Carano had a song. Carano had, wasn't Rape, but it was to Van Halen's Jump.
Drunk?
It was Drunk.
Yeah.
Yes, very good song. So I recommend anybody go back, listen to those shows. The songs are awesome. This was also the week that the Wilbur tickets went on sale, so it was a record-breaking week too. And that Kirk broke the record for fastest sellout of not one but two shows at the Wilbur Theater, which truly stunned the folks from the Wilbur. Those are the most notable. I didn't want to get too deep into each individual.
I think I have one.
Yeah.
Was this not the week that Dale Bear was introduced into the world?
Yes, it was at the end of the week.
That's right, because I remember him going, "Why'd you drink?" Or what a fucking moron drinks at the show.
That's Dale Bear was the end of this week. There was that show was Dale Bear. Do you remember where he bought Dale Bear?
Yeah, the CVS.
Very good. Take note, if you're in the KMS trivia game show, that's going to be a question.
I'm actually just between you and me, I'm actually trying to reach out to intern Nick to try to team up with him for this trivia game show. I think that would be an interesting, little comeback, and maybe see if he's free. I'm a big Nick guy, but yeah, no. So I remember that week. It was a very, I don't want to say the best 3-week span in KMS history, but very memorable with the Super Bowl, Madawaska, Mike's Reckoning.
Dale Bear. It was incredible, and not only were they done with Madawaska, talking to Mike about what happened up in Madawaska and moving forward, then getting ready for the Wilbur show. Literally, like Steve said, as soon as the show was over, I thought, oh my God, I woke up on Sunday morning thinking, we got to get ready for Wilbur. Kirk was so excited for the Wilbur show, said it was going to be like nothing we had ever seen. He put so much passion into that. As the months went on, you could hear him talking about it. I forget the guy's name, but he mentioned some playwright or some director who made this, I don't know, plays, but I remember him talking about it, how much energy this person poured into that show. And he's saying, I'm doing more than them. And he really was. He'd say how he'd lay awake at night thinking, this is I'm going to have this as part of the show, or I came up with something else as part of the show. So I'm really looking forward to when that happens. He also spoke that week about not just the Wilbur, what happens beyond that. So he was already thinking of Saco. He was already thinking of something in the fall. So again, just looking for ways to give back to the fans, to have us included in what he does. And he did say Madawaska was for the fans. Wilbur was for Barstool. He said Wilbur is a money-making event. He never said it was anything but. And he also said Madawaska is going to be for the fans. We're going to do that for our fans. So that's what makes him so different from other shows is, maybe some people 100%. Do have events, but those shows are always just to raise money. Kirk does things where he even mentioned we broke even or it cost them money to do.
Yeah, I like to think about, would there have been a Wilbur show in December if this whole coronavirus thing didn't happen? Would there have been, 2 shows in June? It was kind of, and then, every 6 months or so, Kirk Minahan show sells out 2 things at the Wilbur. But looks like we'll have to figure that out when the Wilbur comes up in 2022, because obviously
1/22/22, right? January 22nd.
That's right.
That
That's right.
Yep. We have our dates for Madawaska this year, June 5th.
June 5th, 2021.
And hopefully there's a Saco again.
I'd love that. I'd love that if it was.
It's such a great time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anywho, is there anything else you wanted to bring up from today or this weekend?
Nope, that is it. That's this week in KMS history. I recommend going back, re-listening. They are great shows.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim, for joining me. Obviously, thank you to Kirk Minahan. Thank you to Steve for quitting the trivia team and giving me a shot. It's a big deal to me. Thank you. I will talk to you guys all on Friday for the wrap-up.